Lucas lived every day in repetition, waking before dawn's first light. The dim glow of a table lamp in the living room seemed to be the only source of illumination in the small house, reflecting off its weathered walls. He didn't rise early to welcome guests or pursue a picture-perfect lifestyle, but rather to maintain some semblance of order amid the chaos of his father Theodore's life, a man fighting a daily battle with Alzheimer's. The morning air was always damp and cool, and Lucas's breath mingled with the fragile mist outside the window. Every morning the rich aroma of coffee would seep through the tiny kitchen, spreading the warmth Lucas tried to cultivate in an otherwise lifeless space. He gazed out the window at the trees swaying gently in the wind, reminding himself to stay strong for another day. The faint light of the newly risen sun bathed the kitchen corner in gold, highlighting the simple items on wooden shelves. Behind him, the uneven shuffle of Theodore's footsteps echoed down the hallway, a sound as slow and irregular as an old clock out of sync. Theodore entered the room, his thin frame and wandering eyes searching for something intangible, something he couldn't quite grasp in this fractured reality. The deep lines on his face seemed to tell the story of a life long lived. Sometimes he would look at Lucas and ask, "Where's your mother?" His voice, though tremulous, carried a longing that was hard to describe. Lucas would suppress a sigh, his eyes betraying a fleeting weariness but always holding patience. "She's been gone for a long time, Dad," he would reply, keeping his tone as gentle as possible. But each time the pain in Theodore's eyes struck Lucas like a fresh wound, carving scars into his heart. Occasionally, Theodore would sit in the wooden chair by the window, holding an old photograph of Lucas as a child. Sunlight streaming through the glass lit up the photo, highlighting the innocent smiles of the past. "Who's this boy?" Theodore would ask, his voice tinged with confusion. Lucas would kneel down, offering a soft smile filled with empathy. "That's me, Dad," he'd say. Theodore would stare at the picture, his eyes struggling to piece together the fragments of memory. But like a kite with a broken string, those memories would slip out of reach, leaving only emptiness behind. Yet there were fleeting moments when a spark of memory illuminated Theodore's mind. Sometimes he would recall a story from his youth or ask, "Have we fed the horses today?" Even though there hadn't been any horses for years, such questions carried a sense of familiarity, a faint glimmer of clarity amid the fog. Lucas cherished those moments, as they reminded him that some part of his father's essence remained intact, buried deep within the ruins left by the disease. One morning, as pale sunlight streamed through the window, casting long shadows on the floor, Lucas prepared to leave. Pulling on his worn, frayed coat, he turned to Theodore and gently said, "Dad, don't open the gate, okay? I'll be back soon." Theodore gave a faint nod, his eyes seeming to understand, though Lucas knew the promise was as fragile as smoke, likely to dissipate at any moment. As Lucas left the house, silence enveloped the home, broken only by the rustling wind through the garden trees. Theodore moved slowly through the living room, his heavy steps carrying the weight of memories. He paused at the window, his gaze lost in the expanse outside. In the small yard, the wooden gate stood silently like a faithful sentinel. But something in the bright morning light drew Theodore, a silent invitation that beckoned him forward. Step by step, Theodore approached the gate, his trembling hands brushing against the rough wood. He hesitated, his eyes settling on the latch. Lucas's words echoed faintly in his mind, like a distant voice in a faraway room. Yet a deep yearning in his gaze, perhaps a desire to reclaim the missing pieces of his life, pushed him onward. The stillness outside was uncanny. Leaves rustled softly as if whispering a secret tale. Beyond the gate, a quiet presence waited. Theodore took a deep breath, his expression a mix of hesitation and hope. At last his hands moved to open the latch. A horse stepped into view, moving gently toward him as if it had always known him. Its eyes shone with tenderness, its sleek coat shimmering in the pale moonlight, appearing as though it were dusted with silver. The old man, his hair as white as snow, reached out with trembling hands to stroke the horse's soft mane. In that moment, time seemed to pause. The world around them faded, leaving only the man and the horse connected in an unspoken bond. The stillness was profound, broken only by the whisper of the wind through the trees and the distant hum of crickets in a peaceful symphony. When Lucas returned home, his shoulders heavy from a long day's labor, he froze upon stepping through the creaky wooden door. Before him stood his father, who had spent his days lost in solitude, now standing beside the horse with an expression of quiet joy. Lucas had never seen his father look so alive since his mother passed away. The sight washed away his exhaustion, replacing it with a serene sense of peace. Perhaps this horse wasn't here by chance, but as a symbol of the bridge between what was lost and what remained in the lives of father and son. Silence enveloped the surroundings, almost guiding Theodore toward the gate in a state of unconsciousness. His hands trembled as he turned the old key, the lonely sound of metal reverberating in the night. He wasn't sure what he was waiting for, but a strong urge compelled him to open the gate. Standing outside was a large black horse, tall and majestic, yet graceful. The moonlight cast a glow on its sleek, shimmering coat, highlighting its regal and mysterious presence. The horse took slow, deliberate steps, each one cautious as if it feared startling him. Only a few steps separated Theodore and the horse, and their eyes met in silence. His heart pounded in his chest, but it wasn't fear. It was an unnameable, strange emotion. "You look lost, just like me," he whispered. His gaze fixed on the horse. Its deep eyes seemed to understand his words, lowering its head slowly, one front leg slightly bent in a gesture of solemn greeting. Theodore felt an inexplicable connection, as though this creature hadn't appeared by chance but carried a purpose. He stepped back and closed the gate behind it. The horse remained still, its calm and understanding gaze locked on him as if waiting. That night, Theodore sat in the quiet living room, dim yellow light spilling softly around the space. On his lap rested an old photo album, his fingers tracing over faded pictures, evoking a flood of memories. Beside him lay the horse he had named Cody, resting on the wooden floor with its large head placed over its forelegs, breathing steadily. The house radiated tranquility, broken only by the faint rustling of wind through the trees outside the window. Suddenly, Cody lifted its head, ears pricking upright. Its massive body tensed as its gaze fixed on the window. The sudden change startled Theodore. "What's wrong, Cody?" he asked, his voice trembling. Cody rose, moving slowly toward the window, eyes intently scanning the darkness outside. Drawing the curtain aside, Theodore spotted two figures sneaking across the yard. Under the pale moonlight, the metallic glint of tools in their hands caught his eye. A wave of unease swept over him, but before he could act, Cody let out a low, rumbling growl that echoed through the quiet. The horse stepped toward the gate, its gaze sharp and determined. It stomped its hoof forcefully on the ground, the sound a clear and unmistakable warning. One of the intruders approached, raising a metal bar in a threatening manner. But Cody stood firm. With a piercing neigh, it charged forward, its speed and power like an unexpected storm. The first intruder had no time to react before being knocked to the ground by Cody's immense strength. The metal bar clattered onto the damp earth as he screamed, his panicked cries tearing through the stillness of the night. Cody, with its thick, flowing mane glinting in the gentle breeze, stood tall and imposing, its fierce gaze forcing the second intruder to retreat. The dark sky, illuminated only by the crescent moon peeking through the trees, added to the dramatic scene. Inside, Theodore stood frozen by the window, trembling. The dim light from a table lamp cast shadows over his lined face, etched with fear. Memories intertwined with reality, his wide eyes fixed on the scene outside. Amid his panic, one thing became crystal clear. Cody, with unwavering bravery and resolve, was protecting him without hesitation. The strange bond between him and the horse, once a fleeting sensation, now felt profound and undeniable. Cody used its powerful jaws to pin the first intruder down. The man struggled in vain, his eyes reflecting terror as he realized the horse's strength. But the second intruder, quicker on his feet, pulled a sharp knife from his backpack and advanced toward Theodore. In that instant, Cody sensed the looming danger to its master. Releasing the first man, it spun around and charged at the second with remarkable force. The impact sent the man sprawling to the ground, the knife slipping from his grasp with a sharp clang against the stones. Cody stood over him, its eyes razor-sharp and its triumphant neigh echoing into the night. The intruder scrambled backward, trembling under the horse's commanding presence. At that moment, the front door burst open. Lucas, Theodore's son, appeared in hastily thrown-on clothes, his breath labored. He froze in the doorway, taking in the chaotic scene. His father trembling against the wall, the two intruders sprawled on the ground, and Cody standing tall as a guardian, its mane flowing in the breeze. "Dad, it's all right now," Lucas said, his voice a mixture of fear and relief. He rushed to Theodore, gripping his trembling hand tightly. Cody remained where it was, its gaze fixed on the two intruders who now cowered in fear. In the days that followed, Cody became an inseparable part of Lucas and Theodore's lives. Its presence felt so natural it was as if it had always belonged. Each morning, as Lucas prepared breakfast, Cody would accompany Theodore on a walk around the garden. The golden light of dawn bathed the garden, blending with the lush green of the trees to create an unusually serene setting. Cody, regal and alert, always stayed close to Theodore, its ears perked as though attuned to every subtle sound. Its vigilance reassured Theodore, and Lucas found himself less burdened by worry. One day, as sunlight filtered through the branches, Theodore, as usual, stepped out into the garden. But that day, he found himself lost in old memories and unconsciously made his way to the garden gate, fumbling with the latch as if trying to step outside. From the kitchen window, Lucas, who was washing dishes, noticed his father's unusual actions. His heart tightened, and just as he put down what he was holding to rush over, Cody was already there. The horse stood blocking the gate, its sturdy frame barring the way. It didn't neigh or make a sound. It simply stood still, its eyes fixed on Theodore, like a silent guardian. Theodore stopped in his tracks, his frail hands dropping away from the latch. He looked at Cody, his eyes brimming with emotion, as if, in that moment, he grasped the profound connection between himself and the horse. Lucas arrived just in time, but was met with an odd sense of peace instead of chaos. Cody, with his calm demeanor, had prevented what could have been a dangerous situation. "Why are you blocking my way, Cody?" Theodore frowned, his voice tinged with slight annoyance, but the faint smile playing on his lips betrayed his true feelings. Cody, with his bright, glistening eyes, stood steadfast like a determined protector. His mane swayed gently in the cool afternoon breeze. Theodore tried stepping to the side, but Cody skillfully shifted to block him again. "You're quite the troublemaker," he grumbled, but the softness in his tone turned the complaint into an unintended compliment. The entire garden basked in the golden glow of the afternoon sun, rows of flowers blooming vividly under its warm embrace. The earthy scent lingering after the light morning rain made the atmosphere all the more pleasant. Theodore paused, glancing around the garden as if to take stock one last time. "Maybe the roses need a bit more water," he murmured, turning away from the gate and heading toward the well. Cody let out a soft whinny, standing still to watch him before slowly trailing behind, as if to ensure Theodore didn't change his mind. Lucas observed the scene from the kitchen window, a wave of relief washing over him, his heart brimming with gratitude. Cody, with his sharp instincts and gentle demeanor, was more than just a horse. He was a companion who instinctively knew how to handle situations and ensure safety. Lucas smiled, recalling the countless times Cody had quietly helped them in meaningful ways. Another afternoon, While Lucas was busy washing dishes, a burning smell suddenly filled the kitchen. Turning around, he saw smoke billowing from a pan left on the stove. Cody, standing near the kitchen door, let out a loud neigh, snapping Lucas out of his distracted state. He quickly turned off the stove and opened the window to let the smoke out. Looking back at Cody, Lucas's eyes shone with gratitude. "Cody, you saved us again," he said, stepping forward to gently stroke the horse's mane. Cody closed his eyes, soaking in the affectionate gesture as a silent acknowledgement of thanks. Cody's presence went beyond his protective actions. Over time, he subtly transformed the atmosphere of the house. Theodore, who used to sit quietly in a chair, his gaze distant and lost in faded memories, now spent more time strolling through the garden with Cody. He would pick up an old ball, toss it far, and laugh heartily every time Cody trotted back with it. The sound of laughter filled the air, breathing life into a house once steeped in silence. On quiet nights, as the house settled into slumber, Cody would curl up at the foot of the sofa where Theodore rested. He rarely moved, occasionally twitching his ears at faint sounds from outside. From the doorway of the living room, Lucas would watch the scene with a full heart. He knew that Cody's presence brought a sense of safety and comfort they had never known before. Theodore didn't say much, but the look in his eyes when he gazed at Cody said it all. To him, Cody wasn't just a horse. He was a listener who never interrupted, a companion who never judged. Cody was like a beacon, bringing peace and clarity amid the storm of tangled memories Theodore struggled to navigate. To Lucas, Cody was an unexpected miracle. The horse reminded him that even in the darkest times light could emerge, often from the most surprising forms. A horse with 4 legs and a flowing mane. Thanks to Cody, every burden seemed lighter. He hadn't just helped them through difficult moments. He had rekindled long-faded hope. The house, once shrouded in heavy silence and shadows of forgotten memories, was now lit by a new melody, a tune of friendship and vitality. Cody wasn't merely part of the family. He had changed everything. Each day their bond with Cody deepened, a testament to how love and hope could arise from anywhere, so long as the heart was open to it. One sunny morning, Lucas stood by the kitchen window, coffee in hand, looking out at the garden. Theodore was carefully cleaning the stones around the fountain, while Cody stood beside him, tilting his head as if watching the task intently. "You see, Cody? These stones need gentle care. Too much force, and they'll break." Theodore spoke softly, his tone filled with focus, a tone Lucas hadn't heard in a long time. Cody didn't respond, but his ears twitched, and his mane swayed slightly in the breeze as he listened. Lucas smiled, feeling a rare surge of emotion at the change in his father. That afternoon, the 3 of them spent time together in the garden. Lucas sat on an old wooden chair while Theodore tossed an old bridle into the grass. "Go on, boy," Theodore called out. Cody immediately galloped, his mane flying in the wind, retrieving the bridle and bringing it back. Theodore's laughter rang out, natural and full of life, and Lucas couldn't take his eyes off his father. In moments like these, Theodore seemed wholly present, his dimmed memories reignited by the simple, profound bond between him and Cody. In the evening, the radiant sunset bathed the living room in golden light. Theodore sat on the couch, his eyes half closed, while Cody stood motionless beside him. As Theodore absent-mindedly stroked Cody's soft mane, Lucas sensed that the gesture was more than unconscious. It was a silent connection, something he couldn't put into words. Cody, with an understanding gaze, lay still at Theodore's feet, embodying loyalty and empathy. In the days that followed, Lucas noticed small changes in his father. Theodore became calmer, less agitated. Cody somehow served as a bridge between Theodore and the world around him, bringing him back to feelings and memories that Alzheimer's had tried to erase. One evening, Lucas stood at the door, watching Cody curled up by Theodore's feet. The warm light in the room prompted him to whisper softly, "Thank you, Cody." You've given us more than we ever thought possible." Cody didn't respond, but his ears twitched, as if silently acknowledging the heartfelt gratitude. In that moment, Lucas knew Cody wasn't just a horse. He was a miracle in their lives. The bond between Theodore and Cody was undeniable. Cody's presence seemed to open a deep door within Theodore, a bridge to memories the disease had buried. Lucas stepped forward and gently placed a hand on his father's shoulder. Theodore looked so serene. He glanced up at his son, his eyes clearer than they had been in years, and in a fleeting moment, Lucas realized his father was still there, if only a little. Cody stood nearby, majestic yet gentle. The horse lowered his head, as though sensing the gravity of the moment. Lucas sat on the porch, holding a cup of tea, as the soft moonlight cast a tranquil glow over everything. He watched Theodore resting in the armchair, his breathing steady, while Cody stood vigilant, his alert ears never wavering. The horse's presence was constant, as if he understood the importance of guarding Theodore, ensuring he was safe and cared for. Moments like these filled Lucas's heart with profound gratitude. The house, once filled with a heavy silence, now brimmed with life. Theodore had slowly returned to the world through small but meaningful gestures, the gifts Cody had brought. Without words, his presence was powerful. Cody wasn't just a horse, was he? Lucas whispered, a soft smile playing on his lips. Cody had brought their family back to themselves. He wasn't just a protector, but a bridge between the man Theodore once was and the man he could still be. With each passing day, this truth became clearer. Cody didn't just help Theodore navigate his illness. He gave Lucas something even greater: hope. Lucas glanced at his father, who was sound asleep, a contented smile on his lips next to his faithful companion. The house was now warmer, alive with a new rhythm, not defined by the heavy silence of Alzheimer's, but by the quiet strength of a horse, a tireless and steadfast guardian. As Theodore slept, Cody remained standing, his wide eyes observing everything. Even in silence, his vigilance never wavered. Lucas set his cup of tea down and walked softly toward the living room door. He paused before entering, taking a moment to absorb the scene before him. Theodore asleep, Cody standing right by his side. For the first time in a long while, both looked truly at peace. Lucas felt a quiet confidence despite the challenges ahead. While Alzheimer's brought uncertainty, he knew one thing for sure: they were not alone. Cody had shown them that no matter how dark the path might seem, there is always care and love to light the way. And sometimes, that's enough to remind them that joy, meaning, and purpose can still be found even in the greatest struggles. As the night deepened and a gentle breeze rustled the trees, Lucas felt the day's weight dissolve. He smiled softly and turned to leave, knowing tomorrow would be like today. They would face it together. With Cody, their reliable companion, by their side, Lucas felt he could tackle even the hardest challenges, carrying hope in his heart. Lucas took a deep breath, reflecting on everything that had changed since Cody entered their lives. The horse, once a distant creature, had become an essential part of their family. He recalled the night thieves broke into the farm, and Cody, with immense strength and determination, protected Theodore, his father, and the entire home from danger. But Cody wasn't just a guardian. Watching the horse standing quietly beside his father, Lucas realized Cody had done much more than that. Theodore, who had once withdrawn into his own world, now had a reason to wake up every morning. He smiled more, talked more, and seemed more present, despite the gaps in his memory. He often took Cody for walks in the small backyard garden, their slow steps mirroring the tranquility Cody brought. Lucas couldn't help but smile as he recalled the times Cody stood guard at the gate, keeping Theodore safe, or alerted him when something was wrong. Cody was not only intelligent, but exuded wisdom. "You know, you're truly remarkable, Cody," Lucas whispered, as if the horse could understand. Cody turned his head to look at him, loyalty shining in his eyes, before lowering his head to nibble on the fresh green grass. As Lucas watched his father and Cody together, he realized something he hadn't before. It wasn't just Theodore who had changed. Lucas himself had too. The guilt of not being able to do more, the loneliness that had accompanied this journey. They all seemed lighter. Cody had given Lucas something he hadn't known he needed: a companion, a reminder that even in the hardest trials, there is hope. Sitting on the porch, sipping warm tea, Lucas opened his journal and wrote down his thoughts. Cody is not just a protector. He saved us from our own loneliness and despair. When he finished, he closed the journal and looked at Cody once more. The horse stood there, eyes half closed, breathing steadily. A wave of gratitude rose in Lucas's heart. He didn't know how much time he had left with his father and Cody, but he knew that as long as they were together, this house would always feel like home. That night, as he lay in bed, Lucas felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. He knew, no matter what challenges awaited, they would be okay. And deep down, he understood that certainty came from the warm, loyal gaze of a horse that had entered their lives just when they needed him most. This is the story of Cody, a horse who not only protected their home but also brought hope, joy, and profound meaning to their family's life. Cody is proof that even in the darkest times, light can appear, bringing healing and faith in life. Have you ever had a similar experience with an animal that changed your life in unexpected ways? We'd love to hear your story. Share those meaningful moments in the comments below. Don't hesitate to tell us how a special friend, big or small, brought you joy, comfort, or even changed your life. If Cody's story touched your heart, leave a like to let us know you enjoyed this content. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next inspiring and meaningful stories. Let's spread these beautiful moments of love and loyalty, reminding everyone that light always exists, even in the darkest days. Thank you for watching. We look forward to reading your stories and we'll see you in the next videos.